How you doing, guys? Big Mac Danskull here today, back once again with another Conquest video for you. Today we're going to be taking a look through the pages of issue 75. Before we get started with this week's issue of Conquest, I just want to remind you that you can support the channel if you'd like to on Patreon. I'll pop a link in the description below and I'll put one as a pinned comment as well. You can pledge at a $12 level in order to sponsor a future Mortal Realms episode. You can pledge at a $5 level and that will get you access to movie reviews and coffee tastings that I do, just fun videos. I'll also be throwing some other videos like outtakes videos maybe onto the Patreon in the future, and you can pledge at the $1 level and you get access to the coffee tastings there, but probably like also other things like that I just throw in there once in a while, like outtakes videos and stuff like that. Yeah, thanks for all your support so far. Still got 3 patrons, and I look forward to getting a load more and becoming a YouTube millionaire. Doubtful. Can't believe I forgot what issue it was. So, what do we get in this week's issue of Conquest? Well, we get the first part, the first sprue from the Repulsor tank, and that is a big boy sprue. It takes up the whole A4, yeah, it's A4, isn't it? A4 page of the magazine. And yeah, it's the first part of a Repulsor kit, which is 3 sprues and potentially a base in a separate magazine. That's what a lot of people seem to think is going to happen. So the base issue is going to be a little bit underwhelming, let's say, but at the end of the day it's got to sit on something, hasn't it? So yeah, $8.99, multiply that by 4, sorry, $7.99, not $8.99, I'm just upping the price of the magazine here. Multiply that by 4 and that gives you the price we're going to be paying for the Repulsor overall. So £16, £32, just shy, £31.96. Wow, the maths are amazing. So £31.96 for a Repulsor, even over 4 issues when it could have been split over 3 issues, it's a bit of a bargain really. The Repulsor itself is £50. So anyway you look at it, it's a great saving. It's better than a saving going to a third-party retailer typically, unless that third-party retailer's having a sale or you've got some vouchers for them or something. Then it brings it down a little bit more for you. It's probably even better, or at least comparable, to go into eBay and get a second-hand one that's a little bit misused, badly painted, something like that. You might find a bargain every now and again that's where you get a Repulsor for, let's say, 20, 25 quid, but they're few and far between those opportunities because people tend to pounce on them when they realise it's going to happen. So, what else do we get in this week's magazine other than the bargain price of a quarter of a Repulsor, or a third of a Repulsor, let's say? We get the Repulsor tank part 1, yeah, that's what I'm talking about now. And then we get Discover the Ynari and Relics for you in your games, not for your games, in your games. Turning to the first page, we get Space Marines Repulsor. This is a lovely piece of artwork of a Space Wolves Repulsor, utilising anti-gravitic generators, the powerful turbine engines. Repulsor transports hover above the ground as they advance to deliver their cargo of Primaris Space Marines into the heart of battle. Excellent stuff. The anti-gravitic plates you can see on the bottom of this Repulsor, we don't actually get them in this kit. What we get in the first part of this kit, rather, what we've got in the first part of the kit is a lot of the top of the Repulsor and the back door, some of the turbines and some of the parts that are between the anti-gravitic plates and the hull itself, and then a few various other bits from around the tank. We can't really start building it until we get at least the second sprue, and then maybe they'll include the build instructions in that issue. Maybe they'll make us wait to that final issue that just comes with the base, so we have to buy that issue. We can't really start building the Repulsor yet, but you could, I suppose, start painting it if you wanted to. You could experiment with sub-assemblies or even painting on sprue like some kind of lunatic sadist. If you paint on sprue, some people do it, but if you do it, typically when you clip it off the sprue, there's all marks of bare plastic, so you have to cover them up somehow. And it's knowing what areas are going to be easy to cover up and what are going to be not so easy to cover up. They're going to be too obvious to cover up. But yeah, anyway, back to the magazine itself. The Repulsor is an armoured transport, a deadly combination of brute force and manoeuvrability. A turbine array at the rear of the vehicle powers it along at a relentless pace. We've got one of these boxes at the bottom that gives us the vital statistics as well. The faction is Adeptus Astartes. Armour rating 8, so it's quite heavily armoured. Speed 7, it's quite fast. Firepower 7, it's got quite a bit of firepower. And class all-terrain transport. Of course it's an all-terrain transport because it either just rides over it on a anti-gravitic energies, or it just ploughs through it as well, because those turbines are so powerful and those anti-gravitic plates no doubt are so robust because it's a Space Marine vehicle that it could just plough through rocks that it doesn't manage to lift itself over. That's the way I view it anyway, and I always imagine there's a really like the hum of a really powerful generator or something like just a constant when it's buffeting the ground with these anti-gravitic plates. It's that powerful it crushes the ground underneath it. It's not graceful like the Eldar anti-grav tanks, but it's just like an imperial vehicle, the typical brute force of the Imperium. The capacity is 10 Space Marines. For some reason I always thought it was 5 Space Marines, but apparently 10 Space Marines. Armaments, there's a lot of them. Bear with me, I'm going to take a breath. Heavy Onslaught Gatling Cannon, Icarus Iron Hail Heavy Stubber, Iron Hail Heavy Stubber, 2 Crackstorm Grenade Launchers, 2 Storm Bolters, Twin Heavy Bolter, Auto Launchers, optional. Twin Las Cannon, Las Talon, Onslaught Gatling Cannon, Fragstorm Grenade Launchers, and Icarus Rocket Pods. Wow, that's a lot of weapons. And then embarkation points, top, rear and side. They're basically doors embarkation points, or hatches as well. And note, transports Primaris Marines only, so you can't stick your non-Primaris characters that you've got in this run of Conquest in there, and you can't stick your scouts in there. Turning to the next page, we get a lovely bit of artwork of a Blood Angels Repulsor there, cresting some kind of rocky outcrop. And then beneath that, we've got a bit of artwork of an Imperial Fist Repulsor Executioner. It's a slightly different class of vehicle. It's more heavily armoured, and its battlefield role is slightly different because it can only carry, I think, 5 Space Marines, because it's got a high energy weapon on top on the turret, which means its battlefield role is more to target enemies' heavy armour. This pattern of repulsor sacrifices some of its transport capacity in order to mount even more weapons. They are often used as transports for specialist troops such as Hellblasters, or as escorts for dedicated troop-carrying transports. The Repulsor Executioner's turret is fitted with either a laser destroyer or a macro plasma incinerator, allowing it to devastate enemy armour. Even the heaviest of enemy tanks are not safe from the Executioner's wrath. So if you know you're going to be facing a wall of tanks like Imperial Guard tanks arrayed against you, you might want to take your Repulsor Executioner rather than just a load of troops or something like that. Onto the next page, we get a diagram where it shows us the various parts of the repulsor and picks them out, so we know exactly what they are. We've got the Onslaught Gatling Cannon being picked out, Las Talon and Coaxial Iron Hail Heavy Stubber, Crackstone Grenade Launchers, lots of different things, including the anti-gravitic plates at the bottom there. Turning on to the next page, again it just goes into a bit more detail, describing the purpose of each item of war gear. I'm not going to go into that too much because I feel like I've spent a fair bit of time on the repulsor now. What's this page here? Wars of Iron. What could that be about? It's about the Iron Hands. We get some history of the Iron Hands here, and I don't really know, none of them stand out to me as anything. I've read through them all, none of them stand out to me as particularly interesting. I apologise if you're an Iron Hands fan, but they're a little bit dull, aren't they? They're all about business. You know, it's like going to a works party and everybody around you just wants to talk about work. They're just about getting the job done. It's a little bit dull at the end of the day. On to the next page, we get an Invictor Tactical Warsuit. Space Marine Invictor Tactical Warsuits. Oh, another sneaky Vanguard unit has snuck into the pages here. I say sneaky. It's basically a dreadnought. that instead of having a sarcophagus with a near-death Space Marine inside it, it's got a Space Marine just plugged into it, a normal Space Marine or a Primaris Space Marine just plugged into it. So he plugs his armour directly into the warsuit, and we get one of these stat boxes, the same as we did for the Repulsor. Faction, Adeptus Astartes, armour rating 6. It's an armoured down version of a Dreadnought, really. Speed 7, firepower 5. Class, Combat Walker. Note, specialised for stealth. So, it's specialised for stealth. You think, how can a giant robot be stealthy? It's a giant robot. It's, judging by its size in comparison to a Primaris Marine, I'd say it's somewhere between 12 and 18 feet tall. So that's going to struggle to be stealthy, isn't it? However, it does have less armour, like I said, which will make it slightly lighter, but no doubt it weighs more than an estate car. Probably, I would have thought. The amount of metal in there, the amount of strong metal you'd have to have in there for all the leg framework and the roll cage and everything like that, and all the amount of ammo it'll have to carry around with it. But yeah, it's a stealth vehicle. It has super special quiet servos and stuff and pistons to reduce the noise it makes as it's creeping across the battlefield on its tippy toes. You get the idea. The crew is one Primaris Space Marine, armaments, Fragstone Grenade Launcher, Heavy Bolter, Incendium Cannon, 2 Iron Hail Heavy Stubbers, and Invictor Fist. Invictor Fist? Who put the fist in Victor? Let's get serious again. Optional, Twin Iron Hail Autocannon. Only one option. Tactical role, Heavy Weapons Platform, Infantry Support, Stealth, or Covert Operations rather than covert. Cavorting about the battlefield. Equipment modifications, sound dampened reactors and servo motors. So yeah, instead of it's across the battlefield. There's more about it on the next page, and it talks about serving the chapters. Only very specific Primaris Marines are selected to be mounted in these Invictor warsuits, and they're the Primaris Marines that show an adeptitude to work as an individual, and they have independent thought. A lot of Marines are just kind of perfect line troops. They like to be told what to do, where to go. Not that they couldn't operate as a lone individual, but they're just so happy to follow orders that that's what they end up doing, and that's all they ever end up doing until death. However, the pilots of the Invictor warsuits show a little more independent thought. They're a bit like lone wolves or the Space Wolves. I think if you wanted to put one into a Space Wolves army, you could make up some lore for it where it is actually a lone wolf. All of his pack mates are dead. So he decided to mount himself in an Invictor warsuit, or get himself mounted in an Invictor warsuit, and just sneak around the battlefield. It's a similar sort of role, really, I'd say, as a lone wolf fulfills. So Mythos, if you were thinking of sticking one in your force of Space Wolves, then why not, eh? Yeah, it's about putting your chapter first, independent thought, and putting your brothers before yourself as well. So they're expected to basically make headlong charges at the enemy and literally step in front of bullets for their brothers. Next page we get Making a Silver Templar. Whew. This issue is packed with lore, isn't it? Like I said at the start, there's no build instructions here. There's no how to build a Primaris Repulsor because we can't build it, we've not got enough parts. There's no how to paint, funnily enough, either, because we could start painting it, really. If you're painting it as the Ultramarines, just follow the guides from the previous issues, particularly the one with the Redemptor Dreadnought and the Landspeeder. However, you know, there's no rush. We're getting this over 4 issues, so why not wait till we've got at least all the parts for the Repulsor body itself and the turret, and then build it and start painting it then, maybe. But yeah, on to Making a Silver Templar. This is all about making Silver Templars. Becoming a Silver Templar, they're chosen at a young age, basically.
The body must be vital, the mind keen. Any weakness will result only in death.
Those were the words of Apothecary Vestilian, Silver Templar First Company. So he's probably the head honcho of apothecaries, the main medical guy in the Silver Templars. Yeah, like all Space Marine chapters, they select them at a young age. They only recruit from Novaris, the homeworld. So if they want to be in the Silver Templars, basically in the depths of winter, they have to make their way from their homelands, cross frozen mountain ranges, thick forests, raging oceans, all in the course of their journey. Those who survive that far make it to the fortress monastery Colossus, and when they get there, they're told to fight. Basically, they fight each other, and those that survive are then told, well, here's, you know, they de-armour them, they strip them of any makeshift armour they've fashioned for themselves, and they're given a surplice and told to climb further up to the actual the Colossus Fortress Monastery itself. Is on top of a mountain, of course, because that's where most Space Marine Fortress Monasteries seem to be. And they're told to climb up, and those that survive the climb get inducted into the Space Marines. But the problem is they don't even all survive the transition from being human to being Space Marine, because they're implanted with, they go through loads of surgeries, loads of training and everything, and then therefore those that come out at the end, they are the best of the best, the most durable, the most survivable. It's the same as any other Space Marine chapter when you break it down into simple, or, you know, a lot of other Space Marine chapters. Some are slightly different, some have, but it's all an arduous task to get into a Space Marine chapter, so it's, you know, it's unlikely you'll get in, unfortunately. Sorry about that. On to the next page, we get Forces of the Aeldari, Ynari. Oh, Forces of the Aeldari, Ynari. What should I read from this? We've got a lovely showcase, a lot of lovely pictures. The Aeldari are very graceful. The Ynari are the latest faction of Eldar. They worship the god of the dead, believing that their diminishing race will be saved by the god of the dead, basically. They take the soul energy of dead and dying Eldar, not in the same way as the Dark Eldar take the soul energy of those who suffer to keep them alive, but they take the soul energy to prevent it going to Slaanesh, and it empowers them more. In terms of game rules, you get extra dice rolls and stuff like that if units around you are dying, if you've got an Ynari force. But yeah, they get empowered by their kin dying around them, basically. And that also prevents Slaanesh from consuming the soul of the dying Aeldari, the dying Ynari rather. And it empowers them, and it deprives Slaanesh of extra souls, basically. And they think in the long run, doing that, it will mean Slaanesh dies of hunger, almost. So this is a fractured part of Aeldari civilization, but it draws from all quarters. So they've got Drukhari in their ranks, they've got Aeldari in their ranks, they've got Harlequins in their ranks. We've got a few characters spoken about in here. Ivrain is their leader. She was, I think she was Aeldari to start, so she was Craftworld Eldar to start, and then she became a renegade and a corsair, and then she ended up in Cormora, in the fighting pits in Cormora, and she was, I think when I read the books about the end times, she was basically living as a witch, which is like one of the close combat fighters for the Dark Eldar. She was living the life of a witch, and then she died, but there was a ritual going. I vaguely remember this actually. There's a ritual going off on a planet far away. Eldrad Ulthuan was conducting a ritual on a planet going on far away, and then Ynniad somehow resurrected her. Ynniad is the god of the dead, and somehow was stirred from his slumber and resurrected Ivrain, and she is his chosen to lead the Ynari. She also has a protector known as the Vizark, who is an expert swordsman, and she's got lots of followers who like to wear a lot of red. There's some examples on the page there. And the pages of the showcase are lovely. She also has a few major Eldar characters following her now as well. Eldrad Ulthwan, who was formerly a Farseer of Ulthwé Craftworld, and it's a Craftworld known for producing a lot of Farseers. And the Phoenix Lord Jane Zar as well has pledged her blades to the Ynari cause. She's, of course, the Phoenix Lord of the Howling Banshees. We just recently got a new model for her and the Howling Banshees themselves in Soul War, the Soul War box game. I think it was called Soul War anyway, the one with the Eldar and Dark Eldar in it. It's probably not called Soul War at all, was it? Let me know in the comments below if you know. On to the next page, we get Ultramarines chapter relics. Fantastic stuff. So various chapter relics are spoken about, the Primaris Wrath being one of them, which is a 24-inch rapid fire 2 bolt gun, strength 5, AP -1, damage 2, so it's like a super powered bolt gun basically. Turning on to the next page gives you a couple of examples and diagrams explaining the armour Indomitus and the standard of the Emperor Ascendant, which is a Space Marine Primaris Ancient carries that banner, and it's like a super powered banner rather than the standard one. On the Death Guard Relics of Decay, I'll pick out the suppurating plate. The bearer has a save characteristic of 2+. In addition, a roll a dice each time this model passes a saving throw in the fight phase. On a 4+, the unit that inflicted that wound suffers a mortal wound after all of its own attacks have been resolved. So basically, it's armour that kills your opponent when they fail to penetrate it. Fantastic stuff. You get a 50-50 chance, on a 4+, so 4, 5 or 6, they suffer a mortal wound. So yeah, it's a 50-50 chance that they'll suffer a mortal wound if you make any armour saves. And it gives you an armour save of 2+ as well, so there's a high probability you'll make armour saves. You'll make a lot of armour saves, especially if they've got a lot of attacks against you. That'd be really useful against hordes having a go at you. Yeah, so it's really good armour. I didn't say, did I? It also tells you who can take relics, the sort of units that can take relics and stuff like that in here. But turning to the back page, or not quite the back page, but the mission, raid on the Medicaid facility. So the Ultramarines now, they're still making their way across the planet with Corvon to a Flame. The road to Barachius is what they're on, and it's long and arduous. I've said arduous a lot of times now, haven't I? I've just realised I've been saying that a lot in this particular episode of my Conquest coverage, so I'll try not to say it again. Yeah, it's a raid on a Medicaid facility by the Ultramarines. They've realised there's a Medicaid facility that's still got medical supplies and stuff, and the road to Barachius is long and tough, like I said. So there's a lot of walking wounded with them, and they need some medical supplies. So what they have to do is raid this medical facility, and I'll talk you through how they're going to do that now, shall I? Roll off, and starting with the winner, take it in turns to place the maps as shown above. Set up the terrain in an agreed manner, place 2 objectives as shown, roll off, and starting with the winner, each player places another objective marker more than 6 inches from the battlefield edges and 8 inches from other objective markers. So that's 4 objective markers in total. They represent medical supplies, I guess. And both players have battle-forged armies with a maximum power rating of 50. You choose your armies in the way you've been told to in some of the previous issues. Deployment, both deployment zones are shown on the map above. We've got deployment zone A in a sort of orangey colour, reddy orangey colour, deployment zone B in the yellow colour. Both players roll off, the winner chooses their deployment zone, players then alternate deploying units beginning with the player chosen to deploy first. The player who finishes setting up their army first takes the first turn. It's pretty much the same spiel now that we've been getting week after week since we've gone to the maximum power rating setup rather than them dictating what army you're going to take. Victory conditions: eliminating an enemy unit, 1 victory point. The first player to eliminate an enemy unit, 1 victory point. So for eliminating the first unit of the game, you get 2 victory points. Eliminate an enemy warlord, 1 victory point, plus the one for eliminating an enemy unit. And then a player controlling an objective marker, 1 victory point. We know how to control objective markers now, so I'm not going to tell you how. If you're not sure, read the magazine. The game lasts 5 battle rounds. Turning to the back page, what are we getting? Next week's issue of Conquest, we're getting more Repulsor. unsurprisingly, it's not a big reveal. But yeah, we've got 3 more issues of Repulsors, and then after that I think there's just a little bit of terrain left. This is the last Primaris item, or the last Space Marine item rather. But yeah, Primaris Transport inbound, your Primaris Repulsor build continues next week. Let me know what you think of this issue in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the battlefield.